right. This presentation is about the weight changes effect on mental health. So a couple of quick statistics on the issue of obesity. About 1 in 3 adults, which is about 32.5%, were considered to be overweight. More than 1.1 in 3 adults, which is about 37.7%, were considered to have obesity. And obesity was higher in women. About 40% of women have obesity versus men have 35%. Almost 3 in 4 women, which is about 73.7%, were considered to be overweight or have obesity. And about 2 in 3 women, which is about 66.9%, were considered to be overweight or have obesity.
Okay, the psychological factors during weight changes. This is analyzing, what a person thinks during weight changes. So they did a study by the International Journal of Obesity, investigated the psychological factors associated with weight changes in women. So they analyzed 76 women, and they used a survey and individual interviews to analyze, what were they thinking during changes. So they identified 3 common psychological factors that leads to weight failures. So the first one is tendency to evaluate self-worth in terms of weight and shape. So this is pretty much, they were looking in the mirror, they were realizing that they're not seeing the changes that they want, and they were just doubting their self-worth, doubting if it was even worth it, either losing weight or opposite for men, they're trying to gain weight and look more muscular. And so the second factor that they found was lack of vigilance regarding to weight control. So this is pretty much they're breaking diet. They're not keeping up with their fitness. They're just constantly breaking it, and they're not able to, fall through with their goals. So the third common factor is tendency to use eating, drink, food. We can see this through, depression. A lot of people use food to kind of make themselves feel better. They kind of use it to, just feel good about themselves through the food. And obviously, we use food. We're like partying, like Super Bowls. Everyone eats a bunch of, not so healthy foods. And so the importance of mental health during weight changes. So it's important to keep a positive mindset when it comes to weight changes. You're obviously not going to see results right away. It's going to take, a few weeks, maybe a few months to see changes. So it's important to stay positive throughout the process. And then having a poor mental mindset during weight changes, this has a negative effect on you. This can also lead to worse conditions like anorexia or bulimia. So I have this picture of what the World Health Organization states, and they pretty much are saying that it's important that to have a good mental health, because without mental health, there's no good physical health. So it's important to be mentally prepared when you're going through weight changes.
Now that we understand the psychological factors behind weight loss motivation, it's important to shift the conversation to the role that dieting plays in our mental health. Nutritional Psychiatry, Your Brain on Food, is a Harvard Health study that explains just that. An analogy that the article used relates our mental health and cognitive function to a car that functions best on premium fuel, hinting to the fact that when we supply our bodies with less than optimal fuel, our mental health suffers the same way our physical health does. This premium fuel is food containing high amounts of vitamins, minerals, and antioxidants, which have known correlations to increased cognitive function and mental capabilities. A diet that takes this into account is the traditional Mediterranean diet, as opposed to a common Western diet seen in the United States, which is partially responsible for the incredibly high obesity rates that Hannah explained. This diet contains high amounts of vegetables, fruits, and unprocessed grains that correlate to a 25 to 35% decreased risk of depression from the Western diet, which is high in high processed foods and refined sugars, as well as large amounts of lean meats and dairy. An example of a well-known diet is the keto diet, which follows a simple rule of increasing the amount of healthy unsaturated fats while decreasing carbohydrate and protein intake. This diet is often recommended by medical professionals to help treat common mental disorders such as anxiety and depression.
All right, so how to sustain a diet in a healthy way? You don't have to dread about a diet, but you can make it into a lifestyle. And the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and U.S. Department of Agriculture provide the 2015-2020 dietary guidelines for Americans to make the healthy change for good. So number one, follow a healthy eating pattern over time to help support a healthy body weight and reduce the risk of chronic disease. So that includes fruits, veggies, protein, dairy, grains, and oils. And a healthy eating pattern limits saturated fats and trans fats, added sugars, and sodium. Number 2, choose a variety of nutrient-dense foods from each food group in recommended amounts, and consuming an eating pattern low in added sugars, saturated fats, and sodium. And then number 4, replace typical food and beverage choices like pizza or soda with options like water or tuna sandwich, and be sure to consider personal preferences to maintain substitutions over time. Number 5, support healthy eating patterns for all in settings like home, school, work, and within the community. So if we take the Mediterranean style diet, for example, the 2,000 calorie level intake, so you're going to be consuming about 2.5 cups of fruit per day, 2.5 cups of veggies per day, 6.5 ounces of protein, and then 27 grams of oil per day. And then next slide is our references. And that's all we got, guys. So thank you. Appreciate it.